Hi everybody, my name is Suze and I work with women to help them find balance between their internal masculine and feminine energies so that they can have lives that feel really emotionally fulfilling, full of love and connection. Today's video, why we struggle with happiness. I wasn't actually planning on talking about this today. I thought I was gonna wait, but I really feel prompted to put this message out today because of what we have going on astrologically right now. This video will be going out on YouTube for Tuesday, the day after the lunar nodal shift. If you don't know what I'm referring to, please check out my video on Saturday, the weekend astrological forecast, the nodal shift going into Aries. And in this space of this new era that we're going to be entering into for 18 months, there is this energy that I'm seeing that's going to be coming forward that I really want to talk about so that we can get ahead of any self-sabotage. We can get ahead of the things that we can do that would destroy what we actually want, right? Which is self-sabotage. So there's this energy that I'm seeing coming forward of possibility with this nodal shift of we've done a lot of healing work. We've done a lot of clearing and getting clear on ourselves and who we are and where we're going. Healing the wounded self, really letting that feminine energy come forward, really stepping into that divine feminine balance of the masculine and the feminine. No more of these distorted, wounded energies, releasing those old stories and the trauma identities, releasing that to step into this big, beautiful, bold, magnificent, confident self, right? And so in that happiness, in this place, now you are a magnet for happiness. You've done the work. And now happiness is starting to come in. A lot of this karmic stuff is going away. These karmic cycles are closing rapidly. And we're all moving into this new unity consciousness, this new paradigm, this new fresh energy. There's so much happening, even more than just the nodal shifts, but Pluto is at play here as well. There's just a lot happening. Saturn and Pluto, stepping into this new space where happiness is actually finally accessible and possible. But then the human gets in the way. The human gets in the way because maybe there's been a lot of struggle to get to this point in time. Maybe there's been a lot of grief and raw self-uncovering that has had to happen, or a lot of really difficult karmic cycles that you had to go through to get to this place where you're at. And a lot of painful, traumatic events of your past that really had to be examined and let love wash over you and cleanse you of these old identities, of these trauma cycles, of this trauma, whatever trauma, wounding stuff of the past. Put that aside to step into the magnificent you and to really create a brand new future for yourself and to move in the direction of that future. There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of pain in that. And when we go through long periods of struggle and pain and disappointment and hurt and betrayal, abandonment, rejection, when we go through long periods of time, we create an identity around that, right? Of like, well, this is my life and this is just how it is. And my life is a struggle and this is just how it is. And we get into this place of that's the normal. And normal is a very, very dangerous place to be. So when happiness comes knocking at your door, a few different things can happen. Either we're going to have a hard time believing that it's really here to stay, right? Because we've gone through all of this history where we're trying so hard to get into this happy, fulfilled, good, positive space. And just when you think you're there, betrayal, right? Or abandonment and rejection, and it gets ripped away from you. You have to start all over again and rebuild yourself back up. And then something else happens and it gets ripped away from you and you have to start back up. I'm being dramatic, obviously, but I hope you understand and can feel, resonate with my message here, because there's many of us who've been on that journey of massive, hard struggle for years. And so happiness comes knocking at your door, and you have a really hard time believing that it's actually here to stay. Really hard time. And then you're having an identity crisis, because again, you've created this mind of an identity of this struggle and this wounding and this brokenness and this betrayal and disappointment and these cycles of disappointment and betrayal and abandonment and rejection and all of that. And you've created an identity around that. So now you're going to have to rewrite your identity into a happiness identity, where I have a life of abundance and happiness loves me and I am surrounded by happiness. That's an identity shift, which we all know creating a new identity is no joke. The mind doesn't like that, right? The mind wants the normal and the known and the ordinary and the comfortable and all of the mind wants that. It's the heart that wants something else. It's the soul that pulls us to something else. It's the soul that wants the fulfillment. But fulfillment will never be found clearly in this wounded identity. So it comes to this point in this time of this healing journey of no longer identifying with this healing self and recognizing you're identifying with this abundant, fulfilled, happy self. And then the journey becomes learning how to hold the happiness. We learn how to hold space for the pain really well. And we learn how to stop running and escaping and numbing or distracting or busying from the pain. And we learn and get really strong in holding the pain and continuing to move ourselves through the pain to a more empowered self. And we got that cycle down real well. Of I can hold enormous pain and pull myself out. And that's queen energy. Queen turning her pain into her power. That is queen energy. But then once you reach that empowered, magnificent self and happiness comes knocking or abundance comes knocking, then what? Do you squander it away? Do you waste it away? Do you sabotage it because you're so afraid it's going to leave you, so you make it leave you? Do you waste it or do you invest it? It's coming back to that same energetic thing that I was talking about in the past few videos with this Aries North Node energy about the tendency, the shadow side of Aries energy can be very impulsive. It's a fire energy. And with fire energy inside of us, we can be very impulsive. But impulsive energy is not sustainable and it's not consistent and it's not reliable. And if we're trying to create this big, magnificent, fulfilled, empowered life, fully abundant and happy life, it requires consistency and reliability, sustainability. It's the long-term goal, the big picture thinking, the maturity to move consistently and calmly and surely and confidently in this space. So when happiness comes knocking, can you hold it and bring it into this new reality with you and let it grow, let it expand, invest back into it so that it grows even more and lasts? This is legacy energy. Legacy energy. And we're at this moment for a lot of us in the collective, we've done so much work that the happiness is right there. It's about to come knocking. And then what? Have you done the work to create this identity around abundance, happiness, fulfillment? Or are you still identifying with the struggle, wounded, broken, abandoned, rejected self? Identity. And then number two, not only is it identity, but hold. Can you hold this abundance and fulfillment as well as you can hold the lows? You've learned to hold that. Now take that to the other end, right? Everything is just a wave. It's just like that video I did weeks ago, or I don't know, it might have even been a month ago, about the highs and the lows. I did something about holding the highs and the lows. I forget exactly the name about it, but it was that same idea. But now's the time where it's coming in for a lot of people in the collective. A lot of the, oh, I just saw 1010 on the timer, 1010. A lot of the divine feminines, you know where you are, and you know how much work you've done to get to where you are. And people may look at you and call you crazy, and you may have lost so many friendships and relationships along the way because they were no longer aligned with where you were going, and you had to let yourself go there. And you learned to go into hermit mode and to isolate and do your work quietly when no one else saw you, and do this work to come out into this place where now you are a magnet for happiness and abundance. But are you ready? I said this in a video a few weeks ago. The divine masculine is coming. Are you ready? Are you ready to really receive him and have him? Or are you still busy doing this other work that you don't even need to be doing or identifying with anymore? Now it's about receiving and holding space for the good. You know, it's really, really fascinating when you start looking at yourself honestly with these things about in the little things of every day. In the little moments of every day when you have a happy something happen to you. First of all, do you even notice it? Or is it too little for you to notice and be grateful about? One thing that I always come back to that I think of as a silly example, but it works for me is I have 2 boys, and when they laugh, their giggles to me brings me so much joy. I love the sound of their laughs. When they're laughing, I am as happy as can be in that moment. And allowing myself to really feel that happiness, that level of ecstasy for me, of hearing my boys supremely happy, feeling and holding that energy and really being grateful for it is really great practice on a very small, silly scale, but it's all energy work of holding the happy feelings. Another really silly example, but you guys have heard me say this before. It's all these little details of the daily life where all the power is. And if we learn to pay attention to the tiny little, seemingly insignificant moments of the day that hold all the power for the big stuff, that's where transformation comes in. But we're too often too busy to even see or notice or be grateful for the little things. For me, a cup of tea, my tea rituals, being really present with my tea and feeling all of the feelings that come up for me when I have my tea, smelling it, feeling it, tasting it. It's a full experience for me that brings me a lot of calm, which can be very happy. If you had a busy day and you take a moment to calm and center and ground, that feels really good, really good. And allowing myself the space to savor those moments and to feel all of that swelling in my heart space of pleasure for myself, which is happiness. It's those little things throughout the day of practicing holding those things that is everything. And when maybe the happy moments come in with someone else attached, that's where things get a little sticky, right? Because we're afraid to really let ourselves savor those moments because we're afraid maybe that person's gonna betray us or disappoint us in some way, shape, or form. Disappointment's a big one, right? The wounded feminine tends to constantly be ready for disappointment from the masculine, right? And that's what happens in a lot of these relationships where the feminine's holding on to something that happened in the past that created disappointment from some masculine somewhere, some disappointment, some level of disappointment and hurt, and it's affecting the present moment, and she's not able to really allow herself to relax and bathe and savor in a moment of happiness with the masculine right now because she's afraid it's a trick or it's a manipulation or it's going to be taken away from her or she can't really enjoy it because something bad is going to happen down the road, right? Allow yourself to really take those moments of happiness and pleasure and the good feelings and really feel it and hold it and treasure it and cherish it. I love that those words just came through for me, treasure and cherish, because I know in working with women, a lot of women tell me, oh, I want a man who cherishes me. I hear that word a lot. I want to feel cherished by a man. Then you need to start cherishing yourself and all the moments you feel really good. Cherish yourself and cherish those moments. Do it for you first, and then it will be brought to you in the external. I hope this video held value. If it did, please do subscribe to show your support for me and my message. Drop me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know who's here. I so appreciate all of you and value you so much. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye for now.